connecting you to people, knowledge, and business development in the line striping industry. This is Stripe It Like It's Hot. Brought to you by Blacktop Banter with your host, Cam Roberts.
What's happening, Pod Squad? Welcome into another episode of the show. It's cold in the north, but where this guy is, it's not cold today because he's in warmer climates. Jerk. Just joking. It's Marco Menna. Marco, thank you so much for coming on, man. How are you today?
Doing great, Cam. Thanks for the invite, man. Honored to be here with a fellow North American.
For a second, I thought you were going to say a fellow Canadian, and I was going to just like fall out of my chair. No, fellow North American. Yeah, it's true. That you teaser, unbelievable. I was all excited there. No, you're not. You're not a Canadian dude. At the moment you're in Florida.
Yes.
And you said you're there all the time now. Is that right?
Yeah, this been home base for me and my wife, and we're expecting a little one soon here. So it's going to be it's all we're kicking off down here. But we started coming down here to project manage a lot of our projects with clients that we started with in the Philly area. That's where we're originally from, and we were doing work in Florida. And last winter, we decided. Well, my wife was like, "Let's not leave." So okay, let's see how that works. So we ended up staying, and we've been here about a year now as home base. But we're still going back up to the Philly area and did a lot of traveling in 2023. Kind of held off a little bit here as we're getting closer to the due date for our firstborn. And but yeah, it's a good spot to kind of dispatch from because you got three major airports to almost fly direct to anywhere. With I'm in Fort Lauderdale, so you got Fort Lauderdale, you got West Palm Beach Airport, and then you got Miami. So if you got to get around and get to the West Coast or the Midwest or Northeast, it's a good place to dispatch from for sure.
Plus, it's beautiful there, man. I love it. I love Florida. I haven't been to Philly yet, but one day I'll check that out too. Cool. Well, I don't know. When you started this all-out parking thing, I mean, before I get too carried away here, co-owner and co-founder. So you're one half of the crew that started this thing. When you started this thing, was this in the picture? Was this the vision? Did you think you'd be operating and project managing in Florida?
Yeah, we Kevin McGarvey and myself always had big aspirations, big dreams to kind of grow this thing. Um, to be honest with you, not too surprised. We're doing what we're doing, where we're at, and being nationwide. So but that's what we set out to do. We started back in May of 2011. So now we're going back almost 13 years, I think. If I can do my math right, it's going to be 13 years, I think. Yeah. Um, and Me and Kev go back to grade school. We went to grade school together. We went to high school together. And while we were in high school, we got really tight just because we liked making money. We liked going shoveling snow was one of our first things we got into together. Snowstorm, we put out a text, "Hey, I have a snowblower. Anybody interested in going to, you know, plow some snow?" I was like, "Yep, I'm in. Let's do it." And then in the summers we started doing landscaping, and then we got into doing like trying to sell T-shirts down at the stadiums down here in South Philadelphia, which didn't last too long, about 5 minutes before we got busted, which was kind of funny. But we always had that kind of like connection on, just trying to make some money together, and it was fun. And then we both went to college. I went to Temple University in Philly. Kev went to Westchester University in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And we stayed in close contacts through those years. And then junior years, he was like, "Hey, let's I have an idea." So it was his original idea that let's seal coat some driveways to make some money this summer. Would you be interested? I said, "Sure." So we did a little competitive analysis. We were able to get quotes from all our competitors in the area, had them come out and give quotes to our family members. We were able to see kind of where the price point was, what type of proposals we put out there. We may have hired a few and watched them do what they had to do. And then, and then we figured and we started right from that. We knew, hey, we had to be the cheapest guys on the block when we started because nobody knew us. And we had a E250, 40 250 van, buckets, squeegees, the cheap, all the cheap equipment, and started brushing out driveways in 2011. And then we had a decision to make. Then we went into our senior year, and it was kind of like, hey, do we decide to do this thing for real once we graduate? And we did. So we actually formed an LLC, formed All Out Services, and we operated as All Out Seal Coat in 2012. And from there, it was a residential seal coating company. Went door to door. We'd go through neighborhoods. We hire people to go door to door with us to knock on doors, and we just had a script. Hey, we just seal coated in your neighborhood. Would you like a free estimate? And then, from there, it just kind of started gradually getting more busy. We got into doing some commercial parking lots. So we started every year, though. We were going to the pavement expos. I know we have one coming up here, Pavex. I can't make it, but I know you're going to be going to that. So we were from year one, we were doing those expos, and we're kind of seeing like, hey, this is a good path to take. You do residential and get into commercial, and then eventually you kind of phase out of the residential. We In 2016, so about 5 years in, we really made a heavy push to target the sports complexes down here in Philadelphia. And we got in. We were able to, off a cold call, we were able to get lucky. They had a bad experience, and they gave us a shot to seal coat a Flyers training facility. So about a 50,000 square foot project. We went out, we made videos, we did everything we could to impress them. We did. And they were like, hey, by the way, we have work coming up at the stadiums in South Philly, the district. So over there's 5 million plus square feet of asphalt that needs to be maintained. And asked us to quote a 500,000 square foot project from that 50,000 square foot project. So we won that job. We did a good job. We did it. And then that kind of what helped us catapult our way to get in commercial, because we were able to have some credit, street cred, saying, hey, we do work for the Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers, and grew from there.
What year was the Flyers training facility?
We got in with them. We started talking to them in 2016, and we got in with them in 2017.
Man,
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird feeling when you win a job like that, because it's excitement, but you're also terrified in the same moment, because it's just like, how do we figure out how to do it? But we pulled all our resources together, and those were the days where we were doing a lot of the work ourselves. It was 14-hour shifts. When you're starting a business and you're at the ground floor, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of commitment. That was Easter Sunday weekend. Nobody was there, so we were working through the holidays, and yeah, it was a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice in those earlier years for sure.
unreal, man. Unreal. Yeah, that seems like the natural progression for a lot of companies, right? They start out just doing the residential thing. But you guys are a little different, like just from my experience and chatting with people on this show, and even for myself, there was no plan, bro. Like there was no plan to grow, see how far we could push it. But you guys kind of had that dialed in right from day one. That's really cool. So, um, Philly started working with the Flyers 2016, 2017, and then from there, what? We just keep taking over the Philly region because
From there, we made a heavy. We started doing all the local trade shows in the area, try and get in with the homeowners associations, the apartment associations, um, and then reaching out to like Fortune 100 companies, like retail, pharmacy chains. Kind of we were looking for the customer that has a portfolio of tens, hundreds of locations that they needed to have serviced, and we were able to break into that. And then that's when we were starting to ask, hey, do you guys do more than seal coat? Do you guys do patching? Do you guys do concrete work? Do you guys do striping? And we started, self-performing all that work as it was coming in, just learning on the fly. Um, and it was fun. We learned a lot. Uh, and it developed into, can you mill and pave, eventually. And I think you were on that blacktop banter success group, where it was kind of like, you try and link up with really reputable guys and companies in your area, so that you can have kind of like a joint venture where, hey, we'll take care of your maintenance stuff. If you could take care of the milling and paving, and we could kind of like tag team it. We'll take care of the coordination, obviously, and the client and all that. and we had a few good, and still to this day, work with those companies as well. Um, where we will work in conjunction with them to get big projects done. I mean, there's a lot of phases that happen in a large parking lot. There's a lot of services that need to be pulled together and done on time, on budget, with weather, rescheduling. So there's all types of coordination that goes into pulling off a big job.
No doubt. Yeah, there's an incredible video you did with Brandon Knoll there, which just goes into the logistics of it all. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it looks incredible. So, I love these 5 minute summaries we do on this show because it's like, oh yeah, we started in 2011 and then we started doing the Phillies and the Flyers and then, now we're in Florida. And it just happens so fast in 5 minutes. You get the explanation. But man, there's like just insane amount of micro steps that has to happen in development, right? In between there. What have been the biggest challenges? Because I'm not saying this in the bad way, but when you say it so quickly, it's, we started cold calling nationals or retail chains and multi portfolios, tens and hundreds. Obviously, that's a lot of work. I don't doubt that. That takes a lot of time and effort. But what were the other challenges to grow and scale to get to that point where you could even look at doing tens and hundreds?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, cash flow is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
When you're stepping into the commercial realm, you got to be able to float a lot of money, and you got to be able to withstand the payment terms. You have a range from net 30 all the way to a net 120, right? So, but it's volume and it's repeat and it's relationships that keeps it going. So, and it happens organically a lot of times where you work with a certain customer or client and they are at their stage in their career where they have maybe a few properties in your service area that you're servicing, and then they elevate to a larger role, and now they have a bigger footprint. Now maybe they have work that needs to get done in a further away state, and they're already used to the service that you're providing, the communication that you're providing, the quality of work that you're providing, and they're asking, "Hey, can you actually do something in Maine for me? Like, can you
Yeah.
figure this? I'm having such a hard time to get this job done, or in Connecticut. Are you guys able to pull that off? Because I understand you're not doing it self-performing, but there's so much that goes into like estimating it correctly and communicating with the store managers and lining everything up so that it's going to be done when it's supposed to be. Like it sounds not that hard, right? Like, and that was one of those things before you get into this industry. A lot of people I feel like on the outside looking in, it's kind of like, oh, that must be easy. You just make a few phone calls and jobs just magically happen, and you're just, you know, somewhere remote. But there's um, probably about 30 steps that you have to go through. And as you continue to, I mean, in the beginning, you do all those steps yourself, but then when you start having, um, you know, 5 jobs a week turn into 10 jobs a week, turn into 15 jobs a week, how do you keep all those promises? You got to be super organized, and you have to have a great team, and you have to delegate in a way where everyone knows what they need to do. Um, and trying to always follow the fundamentals of your company. Like we're always trying to do the right thing, take care of people, um, and a lot of this stuff too is again the relationships. So once you develop a relationship with a customer, with a client, and you do good by them, they do good by you. That's a big key to a lot of this. And it takes time. It's not overnight success. This is year 13 for us, but to kind of get into that, things didn't really start taking off, and we didn't really start making quote unquote real money about a decade in. And there was times there in this company history where me and Kev weren't even close to being the top people getting compensated for what we were doing. It's just reinvestment and having low payroll and just do whatever you have to do. It was a very, very, very difficult road, and I know I'm happy it's over and it's done. I'm happy it's done.
So remind me, I'm going to forget this, Marco. Remind me what you just said, because at the end I want to ask like, where are we going after this? But I don't want to get to the end now. We'll save that for end. Um, can I be totally honest with you?
Sure.
What you just said helped me because I'm only five. I'm like you. We just changed the year, so now the math's all out. I started in 2018, so yeah, May will be 6. We're coming up to the 6th year, and there's times, man, where it is brutally hard, and you wonder like, the classic story of, man, I hope we can make payroll next week. Like when that happens consistently, in a way, you get galvanized, but it also kind of gets old after a while. And you figure out ways, in my experience, you figure out ways to kind of deal with that. But I can tell you, man, like for myself, I know there's people who will hear that and go, okay, like this is a normal part of the progression, you know. Definitely there's things to do to mitigate the stress and the, you know, the cash flow, but that's part of it. And sometimes when you're in the thick of it, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's hard to remember that it's normal. So I'm glad you shared it, man. Um, I want to ask you something kind of, I don't know if you talk about this much. I'm not even sure the dynamic with Kevin, honestly, because I've never spoken to him. In fact, the video that I referenced earlier, that you did with Brandon Knowles, the first time I've actually seen him. So a lot of companies are involved in that partnership type arrangement, like you and Kevin have. What is that like? What's like? Are you guys? Is there a yin yang to you guys? Are you always on the same page? Do you have strengths and weaknesses? Do you offset each other? I'm just curious how you've made it to work so well in a partnership arrangement.
Yeah, I mean, strengths and weaknesses are a big key to that. I mean, the first thing, our friendship, you know, when we first started, you know, it was friendship first. It was like, hey, we got to make sure the friendship stays strong. We got, you know, we got to make sure we're fair to each other. Um, and you know, it's a divide and conquer thing. We would not be where we're at today without working together and combining our resources, combining our strategies, our dedication. It's when you can find a partner that you can, you know, basically go into battle with every single day because it gets intense at times. It helps tremendously. I mean, and again, also when you can spitball or brainstorm with somebody who knows the whole story and you can kind of like work through things, that's huge through all this. So yeah, I'll be the first to admit that and also give credit to being able to work with him to get to where we've gotten to. When we first started, we kind of found like the strengths for our dynamic was I like to be out there in the field. I wanted to be the field general. I would deal with the crews. Um, and I also like doing the sales. Kev was more of strategy, setting up our front office, getting like our systems in place, doing like our basic 101 business stuff. Like he was really big into that, which was good. Doing traditional style marketing, doing traditional style just business practices just to get us going. And then I'm like the guy on the other side, like, well, maybe if we make like a cool YouTube channel and make a YouTube video with our marketing, you know, like so it was kind of like a you know, it was a good combo. And we got into coaching early. So we looked into coaching in the industry and meeting with different industry people that have, you know, fought the same battles that we're fighting and have decades of experience more of us, you know, than we do. So that was a huge thing. We got into coaching, having mentors and coaches through the growth. And you know, at times it's good to have a business partner, you know, because you can play good cop, bad cop, you know, in certain scenarios with whether you're employees or you're trying to work out deals. That's always good dynamic to have. And then obviously, you know, two's better than one. So if you're trying to get things done and you know delegate and figure it out, and then you know jumping in and helping out, there's most things that Kev could jump in and do what I'm doing, and I can jump in for him. And over the years, not so much now anymore because now we have about 35 employees. It's a little different now, but in the beginning, it was for someone to do it all of them on their own, like you. Like I'm just like, wow, that's a lot. It's a lot to handle. It's a lot of things happening. Um, and just to be able to collaborate and talk and troubleshoot to have that you know to have that type of relationship was definitely a huge part of our success for sure.
Totally. I mean, you explained the dynamic really well. I get it. But it sounds like operations and sales, like being in the field and sales are two totally different beasts. So you're pretty in the thick of things. Has it been hard over the years, Marco? Like obviously 35 people now, you've had to let go of a lot of the things that you used to do, right? Back in 2011, 2012, 2013. Was that hard for you or was this like all part of the plan? Like, well, it was. Tell me about how hard it was.
It's hard to let go, man. It's hard to let go and trust. and trust crews and people that you're newly hiring to represent the brand that you build out of your best friend's basement. You know,
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to do. But that's part of growth and that's part of elevating is you have to be able to delegate correctly. That's a huge part of it. Um, you know, and it's not easy. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of risk. You got to be borderline crazy to do it. You know, you do. It's not for everybody, man. And being an entrepreneur, trying to be a small business owner and grow things, I mean, if you run the statistics on it, which I don't have them off the top of my head, but it's the success rate is not that high. You know, so what we're doing is very difficult, and kudos to anybody who's getting after it to try and figure it out. But you put the time in, you put the good energy out there. You're always looking to improve. You're always doing right by people, just trying to help. Like that definitely goes a long way. And that's part of it as well, because you know you don't want to. It's kind of like I feel like now, or in our industry, it's more of that than it used to be when we first started out. You know, it was more territorial. It was more tight to the vest. It was more competition. And now it's just been a really nice thing going to Ignite like we just went to, and trade shows. It's more of a brotherhood now, and like a family trying to figure it out all together, which has also been really helpful once you break through that, kind of like that startup phase.
Yeah. I was chatting about that with Marvin recently, actually. Like 5 years was at the cusp where that's kind of all I know is the what's the, I guess you call it like an almost inclusive type business environment where, there are these kinds of events. Apparently it wasn't like that before. So I didn't get to see the old school side of it. I've got this theory. Can I tell you my theory?
Sure.
Because, as my company grows too, that's been a struggle for me is, yeah, you start out doing all the stuff, literally all the stuff, right? Which is fine when the company's tiny. But my theory is pretty simple when it comes to letting go of things. I think it's one of two reasons. Don't ask me why I was just thinking about this, Marco. But I was just thinking about this. I think it's one of two reasons. I think number one is you said the word trust. I think trust is part of it. I think some business owners might struggle to let go because they just simply don't trust and they get annoyed that the guys that like, I want you to go run this job. I want you to go, process this invoice, all the little stuff that we used to do. And we get annoyed when it's not done correctly. That's option one. And then option two is me. So option two is it's not so much that I get annoyed, it's that I'm like, I will be the first person to jump in to try and like protect the person when things go wrong, when the reality is sometimes they need to trip up a little bit to get it. And I've seen now, looking back over the last, truthfully, like over the last year in particular, 1 to 2 years, I'm so quick to jump in there when somebody that I've tried to delegate something to struggles, and I'm like, I'll be the first person to jump in and try to fix it, right? Because just out of habit. Are you one of those two people? Is what like which is the am I oversimplifying it? Where was the struggle for you to let go of things? Because truthfully, a lot of people who listen to this show would love to let go of things, but they just don't know how.
Yeah. So a big part of being able to delegate and to let go is to really know what you're letting go of and what you're delegating. That's a huge part of it. And also being able to level and just make a connection with whoever you're assigning that task that you needed to do. Like, hey, when I was doing it, this is what really worked. This is what I tried to avoid. This is what didn't work, right? I learned pretty early on too, when leading groups of employees, you don't get very far if you're telling everybody what to do. It's not a dictatorship type of approach that's going to be successful. Maybe that was the way that some of that was the way that I was kind of going through as I was growing and working for different companies as I was younger. Um, that's how things in the culture was. But um, I found pretty quickly that if you try and tell someone who's got, a few decades older than you, and you're in your 20s and you're trying to tell them what to do, even though you're signing the checks and you're their boss, it's not going to go over too well. So it's more of a um, trying to level with everybody, even though you may be the owner or you may be the president or you may be the superintendent or the foreman. Like, it's a level, hey, human to human connection. let's figure this out. This is a job that we can do together. This is what I would do in this situation. Do you agree? I always go to hey, I'm going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do personally. I'm going to ask you to do something that I've done. And if you don't want to do it, that's not a big deal. I'm gonna have to ask somebody else. That's just how it is, right? It's not for everybody what we do. Having crazy schedules and not knowing exactly where every day is a different day, every day is a new job, right? Like for some people, it's awesome. They love it. For other, it's chaos. They just want to have Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, know what they're doing, and stay in their lane. So, that's a big part of it. I think being able to empower your staff to be able to feel as if everybody's on the same level playing field and we're all working through this together is a huge type of culture that we're trying to build here. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that.
Oh, well, you have to have 35 people because 33 of them, yeah, wouldn't want to be told what to do. And that's powerful. Yeah, it sounds to me like you're basically getting permission or buy-in or offering permission in a sense. Like, yeah, like I love the way you phrase that. I'm going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do. That's pretty powerful stuff.
Now, and another thing too, like you want to push people, like you want to push them to get better, but you don't want to push them down, right? There's a big like you want to almost push them and they push you back, and it's like kind of like but you don't want to come downhill on
Mm,
anybody. That's the balance, because end of the day, as a manager or as somebody in a position of trying to lead, your job is to help those that you're leading elevate and get better. So, you don't do that if you're, you know, um, beating around the bush and not strong. You don't do that by being overbearing. It's that balance where it's like there's respect, but it's also like, here, I'm here to push you to get better in a respectful way. Um, it hasn't always worked out. It hasn't always worked out, and we've had a lot of people not, work with us and not work with us anymore, and that's part of business. We've done a lot better job recently, being able to have better retention. But as you're growing through those like earlier years where you can't offer the benefits and you can't afford to keep people on all year round, that's a big hurdle that you have to kind of get through and move through. We got through it, and now we're able to keep people on all year round, and we're able to offer the benefits, and we're able to have like quote unquote like it's like a real job. And when you're new, that's not always, and you're a startup. I mean, you can't offer that. You just can't afford to, you know.
mhm.
So
Man, I love listening to you because I feel like what you've done and what you've built is kind of what I'm trying to work towards, even just what you said about like, it's almost like a spectrum of people who, yeah, some people like to just want their Monday to Friday. Some people want to be pushed and grow. Do you generally find that people who are attracted to your company to come work for you, are they generally more growth oriented people, or have you built a system where you can take the more, like you said, you called it like a real job, like a more stable system? Is that the kind of people you look for now? Or are you still in growth mode, still trying to get the people who are like, give me the shot and I'll show you what I can do?
at this stage in the game, we try and hire people with experience with what we're looking for,
Mm.
and we use recruiters for that. So we've had some success with that, but be able to afford professionals that have experience in exactly what you need them to do, they're not going to be cheap. And there's an industry standard when you're on the come up. You're looking for somebody who is got potential, and they're looking for a job, and it's like a free agent type of deal where you're trying to maybe groom into the role. It's tough to hire and find quote unquote professionals if you're not able to really get to that point to afford them at that moment. Because end of the day, it's got to be a win-win. It's got to be a win-win for the employee and for the employer. But when you're growing and you're in the startup phase and you're in maybe the first 5 years of your business, it's a very challenging thing to try and convey, and not have turnover. It's very hard.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, one other quick thing before I ask you about technology and what we chatted about at Ignite is, I almost should ask you this off the air because I don't know how niche of a question this is, but I peeked at your website before because this is which is what I do. I just like to know I usually go straight to the About Us page when go to other guys' websites. So you guys have a nice careers page, and I noticed that a lot of the things that you had on there, I actually just pulled it open here, was like production level, right? So you got operations guy, truck drivers, lootmen, screed operators, rollers, prep pavers, concrete finisher. So are you, my niche question, which again, I should probably ask off the air, but are you using recruitment services for those positions too? Or are you just using recruitment for like sales and office positions?
We have a very good relationship with recruiters, but it's a combination. Sometimes it works, goes through them. Sometimes it's a referral. It was we had a breakthrough in during COVID in our area. We had companies that went out of business, and we had the crossroads to either downsize and just be kind of like GCs, low overhead, or to go for it and let's bring in more things in house. Let's buy another paver. Let's get more triaxles. Let's take it to the next level. And we went for it. And when
The company name's all out, man. Like you had to
yeah,
go for
yeah,
it. I
we
mean,
had to go for it.
you know,
So we had a scenario where local companies were going out of business, and there was professionals that were looking for work, and we were able to hire them. So that was a bit, that was a huge, that was huge. But then from there, again, it's a slow growth. It's a slow, you want to try and get really core people that have passion for what they do. They care for what they do. It's their career, and then you can build off of them, and then you empower them and elevate them through your organization, and then they're recruiting and then bringing people in as well. But again, it's kind of like to find good employees, you got to kind of throw everything in the kitchen sink out there to try, and see. Now, the one thing that's been interesting for us in hiring, we've been able to open it up to a nationwide and international, um, basically pull, because we're a hybrid company. We're not making people go to the office every day. We're all logging in virtually and working in workrooms. And, we're staying connected, and getting things done with to-dos and lists. And we heavily use Basecamp to do that. So it's been good. So yeah, we're able to pick up solid additions to the team, coordinators that live in Vegas, live in Connecticut. We have one that lives in the Philippines. We have I live in Florida. We have a few that live in the greater Philly area. We have project managers. We have one in Arizona, and then we have we're all working virtually, and that was one of those like really silver linings from COVID, right? Because it was like we had to go virtual, and what we ended up realizing was, wow, we can actually do just as much, if not more, just being linked up virtually. Like that was like one of those aha moments, and then we ran with it. So, and then that's also a very, not all of our positions you obviously can offer remote, because obviously some people we need to have at the office or in our, in our shop, or obviously the guys doing the work in the field. But as far as like coordinators and sales and project managers, we can offer that kind of remote experience, and it's really unique, and that's how we're able to attain really good talent.
that's cool. And I imagine when, man, time's just flying by. I don't want to delay it, but like when we get to the end, I imagine that's part of the secret sauce of growth too, right? Is having access to nationwide. Very cool. I did want to chat with you about technology specifically. So you and I had the privilege. Well, I had the privilege of sitting beside you. It was awesome. So three of us there, yourself, me, and Mary. I mean, I was the token millennial for real. Like, I mean, technology, I won't lie, is a huge part of our company. One of our core values is innovation, where we heavily embrace that. But I don't know. I guess I'll ask you about just speaking about technology in general. How big has it been for you, for All Out, in its growth path here? It sounds like it's been pretty important.
Huge. We wouldn't be where we're at without embracing it. Do we do still like have, your traditional style business operations and things like that going? Sure. But to integrate and how to create basically a virtual workforce all had to be done, with technology, obviously. And then utilizing the latest tools to impress and kind of showcase our work is also a big thing we use for technology. I mean, um, for instance, we're using augmented reality in some of our proposals where we're able to walk out into a parking lot, drop pins, and drop back, take a picture, and then show the customer and say, "Hey, this is the area that you wanted us to cut and patch." And they go, "Oh wow, yeah, that's exactly what it is." Okay, cool. I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna drop pins, and then you can basically get the square footage. So this is a tip for anybody who's listening. But Measure Map Pro is we use that heavily, which it's very widely used. But they have another program called Measure Map AR, and Measure
Mm.
Map AR is really good for if you're going to do just cut and patches. I wouldn't drop pins for a whole entire parking lot. Maybe not for striping as well, but if you want to just dial in on just doing cut and patches, which is we do a lot of cut and patch asphalt repairs, or if you're doing concrete and you want to do just like curbs, Measure Map AR is a great way to kind of showcase to the client and to your crews what we're actually doing without painting everything and marking everything up. It's just virtually being dropped, which is awesome. That was a cool thing that we've been able to kind of like, like does it there are clients that love it, and there's some clients that are like, this is cool, I don't really care. So it's kind of like one of those deals. But I use it. I use it like when I go out and I look at parking lots now in person. I don't bring a tape measure. I don't bring a wheel. I'm using everything technology right off my phone. And that's it. And I'm able to pretty much, be as accurate as you could possibly be with it. So, and it's time and it saves a boatload of time.
Oh, amazing. Amazing, man. I'm gonna ask you another question. I feel like all my questions for you, man, are coming from my. I'm not telling you this directly, but they're coming from my personal experience. So if you're a tech-facing company, obviously that trickles down from the top to your sales, to the operations project managers, the way they communicate. That all makes sense. Where we've seen, I'll call it a struggle. Struggle might be too strong of a word in my company, but when you get down to the guys who are actually on the stripers or they're in the snow removal equipment, and we just onboarded 3 new equipment operators, and it's not even an age thing. They're very experienced guys, but when we tell them, like part of the requirements of this position is we are a very technology heavy company. Your time tracking is done on your phone. Our job site reporting, your snow routes, everything's done in the same software you guys have, Basecamp. And I'd say overall it's been okay for us, but there is some struggle there with some of the guys embracing that on the field level. Have you guys had that? And does that even factor? It does, eh? Does it factor into your hiring process too? Like, are you targeting guys who will be okay with this?
What's wild is like you have guys, and you have people out there that they can jump into a skid steer, they can jump into a mini excavator, they can drive a triaxle, they can drive a dump truck, they can do all these, very not easy things. And then you ask them to open up base camp and go through a work order, and their heads explode. It's kind of one of those things. But
Yeah.
what we've found is as long as you have basically the back office staff to kind of like keep them in line, and they can be like, hey, you can call so and so and they can put in the information while you're driving, or you can just text it to so and so and they can upload it for you if that's okay. Like, do you want that for everybody? No, but for certain individuals that it's just not in there, that's all they can. And it's the gradual thing. You just hired these guys, right? So they're going to start getting familiar. Maybe within 6 months they got it. But in the beginning, if you're kind of just like, you got to be patient and you got to coach them through it. And then, be patient and be understanding, and then have that like type of like, that support where they can get you the text or get you that call or get you the information, even if not. But then, there's a time where it's like, yeah, I need you to do, it's 2 steps, man. You just gotta open up your app and then drop it in, and then, but it's not a deal breaker. And
Right.
the main thing is getting the work done, find people that know how to operate the equipment you need to operate, and do that. And then all that other stuff can be massaged and gently and introduced over time. We've been using Basecamp going on 3 years now, and I would say it's an overwhelming usage, but there's still people within the company that aren't as familiar with it, and part of that's on me with maybe not. I could be doing better training with it, but it's important to have like the team that is in it using it every day, still tracking it and putting it somewhere where we need it to be, so that we can make sure that everyone's organized and we're going through our lists and making sure that everything needs to get done. Um, one thing that as you grow and as you get these opportunities, you'll see, I mean, from the second you get that initial lead till you actually get paid at the end, there's about 30 steps there. There's about 30 things you got to do before you get paid. It's not as simple as just you get the lead, great, shoot a quote over, hope for the best, do the job, get paid, like 4 steps. No, there's a lot that gets into being able to go through the job, the job life cycle.
Yeah, man. There used to be 4 steps for me. In 2018, it was easy. Now, yeah, it's not that easy now. Yeah, systems and processes. Cool. Legit, I could talk to you forever, but it's almost 5 o'clock where you are, so I'm not going to keep you forever. Just let's just jam about where you guys are going next. 35 people operating basically nationwide. You got people all over. You're in Florida, people in Philly, project managers in Arizona. So what's the strategy now? It sounds like you've got a good system where you could scale it more. Is that kind of where we're
Yeah,
going?
yeah. We do. We self-perform. We have self-performing crews in the greater Philly area, and then we have a nationwide network of over 200 contractors that we have relationships with that we coordinate and really find what their strong suits are. If there's a parking lot that needs to have asphalt repair, concrete repair, seal coating, and striping, and power washing, there's 5 different trades there, right? So it's a lot of coordinating and everybody together and getting their numbers and all that. So, we're very, very well versed at pulling everyone together to get on the same page to execute. And we try and promote, everyone needs to make money, but we're not hitting home runs here. Everyone's got to hit singles and doubles. Like, it's volume, know your numbers, be strategic. But obviously, if you're not competitive and we're not competitive, we're not going to win the work. So you have to really dial into that. And a lot of our partners are good with that. Some need more coaching than others. But that's one of the best parts about it is you meet a lot of great people along the way. You end up like, how you redo a parking lot in West Texas versus Phoenix versus Sedona versus Florida versus the Northeast. It's all different terrains, it's different climates. So it's that's cool. That's a cool part of it. Doing projects below sea level in New Orleans, the challenges that come with that, or out in San Francisco, Mill Valley area where, you're also right at the bay and you have things collapsing and, you have stores that are in violation and, it's a lot. It's exciting, it's fun, but it's also a lot of coordinating. But at the end of the day, like it is a fun job. It's a fun thing that we're doing. And we're making a difference. We're making parking lots safe. We're helping the clients and a lot of people that we do service, they have a lot of work ahead to do as well. So it's kind of like one of those, once you get in with us and start working with us and see how we communicate, if you need an update and we don't even have an update, we'll give you an update without the update that we don't have one yet, but we'll get you another one, so that's a big key to, if your client feels that they need to be able to showcase they're doing their job. That's the big deal. So yeah, you want to always make sure you can show progress, show progress, show what are the next steps. And again, none of this stuff is rocket science, and it's nothing that's really that difficult. But coordinating all of it, organizing all of it, get everybody on the same page, and really understanding parking lots, because that's the thing for us. Like, we were in the lots, like we were doing the lots. We're actually done the work. We've held the shovels, we've done the squeegees, we've done the spray wands, we've set up the lasers on the stripers, we've done all that stuff. So when we're looking at an opportunity or we're talking to a client, they really feel that experience. They feel like, like we're not leaning on um we're coming to the table with, hey, this is what you probably should do. But what type of budget are we working with here? Are you guys just trying to get by, or are you really trying to do this right? So there's a lot of that. And when you get to that stage, Cam, for you, sales coaching is big. So getting into really understanding how to um, the sales process of your clients, the sales process for you, and what your target is, and and really understanding and qualifying and asking the right questions that will drive your close rates.
Solid advice, man. There was a guy who came on the pod. First met him at NPE. He came on, I don't even know, 25 episodes ago. He's my guy. He's my sales guy. He's incredible, and he's given us some tools that we've paid for them, but just incredible. Like you say, like the skills that you develop in your salesman and your sales department can make a massive difference. So we're just starting to scratch the surface. So yeah, all right, man. Well, I would keep you longer because I'll like your story's awesome, man.
The future though, what we're looking for is, yeah, we've done about 44 states. So be able to say we've done all 50. We're trying to get that. We're trying to have
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And we have had some opportunities come our way internationally. So we've been asked to do work in Canada. Have been able to pull it off just yet, but that's in the works. So obviously, anything up in the Northwest area. Your service area is going to be what? What are you covering right now?
So yeah, for our core service of striping, we'll go all over the province of British Columbia. It takes us kind of all over. So we'll get real close to Seattle. We'll get close there. So
Okay.
If you're
Yep.
ever
So
in the area.
obviously we get an opportunity there. We'll be talking. And then we got yeah, we got real close to landing a job in Puerto Rico. We just missed on that one last year, but to be able to, kick this thing out to be international and national will be pretty cool. So that's what we're trying
no,
to do and trying to grow this thing and yeah, and help out people, provide a good place for people to work and also for our contractors, like that we're teaming up with. It's a win-win. So
that's amazing, man. Congrats. I know the work's not done, but congrats to you and Kevin and the team. It's awesome. Really cool. And congrats. Oh my goodness, to you and your family. First baby, boy or girl? I can't remember.
boy, yep,
Baby boy. There you go. The
yeah,
the
man.
the bloodline continues. Marco Jr. is coming. So
Yeah. Those my guys will be down at Paybacks. So Kev will be there. There'll be three or four with them, 3 or 4 guys. So make sure you're on the lookout for the all out guys down there in at Paybacks. I know you'll be at the Blacktop Banner event. I mean, Marvin's on going off about how he's run out of space and there's so many people coming. It might even that the Blacktop Banner event might be bigger than Paybacks. It
no,
might be.
one day it might. Marvin's on a mission, man. Yeah. Okay. Well, good to know. I'll keep my eye open for Kevin. I'll shake his hand. So, dude, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Cam, I appreciate it, man. And best of luck to you, power to you this year in 2024. And anytime you need to spitball, brainstorm, any struggles or challenges that you want to run by, man, any time of year, it's wide open, help out.
You rock. Thanks, brother.
All right, man.